Hey, what's up, guys? Got another video for you in the WTF Reviews series I've been doing. This is Tiptoes from 2003. This is probably a film you've never heard of, probably a film you didn't know existed, but it's a very interesting film, very unique, very different, and to the extent it explains why you've never heard of it. This is 2003. Stars Matthew McConaughey, Gary Oldman, Peter Dinklage, Kate Beckinsale, David Alan Grier. This is before Matthew McConaughey, was a really big known name. Before Peter Dinklage did Game of Thrones. Gary Oldman, Kate Beckinsale were already, doing stuff. But yeah, man, this is okay. Let me go ahead and get into it here. This film is about a guy, Matthew McConaughey. He's with his strange, bizarre significant other, played by Kate Beckinsale. And it turns out you find out that he has a brother that is a dwarf. And then you come to find out that his entire family is dwarves, and he's the only one that's not. And you get to meet his brother, Gary Oldman, and then he's got this his buddy of his, and he's like a French anarchist. And he hates everything, and he thinks the French is the best, and America's the worst. Anarchy, and that's Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage is like ridiculous in this movie. He has a French accent that comes and goes, but his whole deal is he's like in constant pain, and that's a theme that they go with throughout the film. Is the pain that dwarves suffer. They throw the word midget around quite a bit. I know that's not very PC to use that word, but they do use it in this film quite a bit. That they go through intense pain because their bodies are too small for their organs, stuff like that. Anyway, they're in pain. Peter Dinklage, his character, whatever his name is Maurice. That's very appropriate. He is an alcoholic, person. He has this drink that's cognac and like morphine cough syrup, I think, is what he like pours together and makes his drink. And he's constantly on tirades. And I forgot to mention, this also stars Patricia Arquette, which is Peter Dinklage's on and off again girlfriend in this film, girlfriend, lover, whatever you want to call her. Patricia Arquette's great and everything she does, and she plays this born again hooker, I guess. She is called a hooker throughout the film, so I'm assuming that she actually was at one point. But she's fighting with Dinklage the whole time. But the whole struggle comes about when Kate Beckinsale, Carol, gets pregnant by Steven, that's Matthew McConaughey, and then she finds out that he comes from a long line of dwarfs. She approaches him about it, and they have a big fight, blow up. They eventually separate because of the fact that this baby is going to be born a dwarf, and all the stuff he's going to have to go through in his life. And I don't really understand the problem McConaughey has with it. I mean, he just I don't understand the problem really, but that's the whole big part of the movie is they have their breakup, because it's almost like he's mad at her because she got pregnant, like because it's like he's a dwarf, say the word dwarf, that's what he says in the film, and it's really ridiculous. And I think why so much of this film is so confusing and convoluted is because supposedly the director, when he turned in his original cut of the film, the higher ups, producers, whatever, they hated it, fired him off the project, and then totally recut the film. And apparently the original version is much longer, and I'm guessing that there's a lot going on that was eventually discussed in the film, or somehow, they worked with it in the film. So that's why there's a lot of things that just happen and then there's no resolution. There's never any mention of it again in the film because they edited all that crap out. But it's becomes this really bizarre story between Gary Oldman and Kate Beckinsale, that they eventually have a little bit of a love interest, and you assume they're going to raise this child. This film, when it ends, it's very vague, and it just fades to black and rolls credits. That's why I feel like that original edit was probably went into depth in that quite a bit more. But the biggest thing about this movie, Gary Oldman plays a dwarf. Obviously, he's not a dwarf in real life, but he is on his knees the whole time, and there's a few different techniques they use to disguise this. They put a big hump on his back, and they try to make his body look like it's proportioned the way a dwarf's body would, but it doesn't quite work. I think they bring his pants up higher so it looks like his torso is shorter. But the main thing is they green screen his legs out the whole time, from the knee down. And he just walks around on his knees the whole movie. And I think in order to justify the fact that he's like hobbling around on his knees, they give him a cane. So, you assume he's got some sort of a, disability where he can't quite walk right without a cane. So that's how they justify the hobbling around. But another thing they do is like, if you're familiar with the Muppets, Kermit, they have him like on a couch, and they'll just like drape some legs over, and he'll be like in the couch, and then he's got these false legs that are just dangling down. It really looks ridiculous. And at this day and age, I don't really understand why they couldn't find an actor to portray the lead dwarf. Why didn't they just use Peter Dinklage in the lead? Since his role was smaller, use him as the lead, and then use a different dwarf actor to play the Peter Dinklage character. I don't get it, because Peter Dinklage is a really good actor. So what I'm guessing is they didn't think that there was a dwarf actor that could pull this role off. But I love Gary Oldman. I love the majority of the actors in this movie. I think they all very, very capable. But this movie is a huge mess, and it's so weird. The concept is so weird. You just wonder how did that ever get past the a screenplay or whatever. But yeah, lots of things I can mention about this film that don't make any sense. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.